Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast where we have digital dialogues for the worlds of social media, sports, and pop culture. We have an amazing panel where we're going to be talking about social media. We're going to be talking about television, how it links to television, and digital branding and all of that. And we have a great panel. Before we introduce the panel, I would just like to say that this episode of Popternative is sponsored by Grid Inc. They are a Canadian design company delivering innovation in hockey and baseball bags for athletes. You could follow them on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Grid Inc. And they also make dance and ice skating bags for young professional competitors. So you could also go to gridinc.net for more information. So now I'm going to quickly introduce the panel. I'm really excited, like I said. So, we have two-time Popternative guests, but I'm going to introduce the person that's making his Popternative debut. We have the creator and star of the show on Crave TV, LetterKenny, Jared Keeso is with us. Jared, welcome to Popternative.
Hey, thanks for having me, Peter.
No problem. And we have the digital lead for the NHLPA. We have Faas is back with us. Catherine, welcome back to Popternative.
Thanks, happy to be here.
And we have Director of Partnerships. Is that right, Chris?
That sounds right. Let's go with that.
Director of Partnerships for Twitter Canada, Chris Doyle is back with us. Chris, welcome back to Popternative.
Thanks for having me back, Peter.
No problem. So right off the bat, Jared, we'll start with you. LetterKenny Season 2 now available on Crave TV. Just talk a little bit about, first of all, just congratulations on the success. I know that it is such a great time now for, you guys at LetterKenny. People love the show. It was great to watch over the holidays. Talk a little bit about, the reception of Season 2 and how LetterKenny started, because it started as a web show, and I'm not sure that many people know about that. So talk a little bit about that, Jared.
Well, yeah, I guess I'll go back to the very beginning here. It started as an anonymous Twitter account I had with my best pal, Jordan Bearns from back home in Listowel, Ontario. We started a Twitter account called Listy Problems, and we just basically shone a light on problems people in our hometown would have. Of course, it's an embellishment, an exaggeration. And from there, I took it to Nathan Dales, who I'll refer to as Dalesy. It was our third YouTube comedic concept, and it was the one that stuck for us. But I think that we have Reddit to thank in general for it blowing up,
Wow, yeah, and it's the social media presence. I saw you guys just hit 50,000 followers on Twitter, so congratulations on that.
Hey, thanks very much. How cool that is not lost on us.
Absolutely, and it's going to continue to grow. There's no doubt about that. And we have Faas is back with us, and Catherine does social media and digital for the National Hockey League's Players Association. So busy time right now with the All-Star game, and you're leaving for that, next week. Talk a little bit about, what's been going on with the PA, with the digital. I know that you're following, the players a lot on their social media as well. So what's new in the world of Faas?
Well, on the PA level, we've got our 50-year anniversary this year, so we'll be celebrating that with some special content and looking back over the decades at some of the best players that have ever played the game, interesting labor history and stuff like that. We've also got a few new exciting projects that we're looking to get sponsored, which, funnily enough, Chris is on the podcast with me because we're working together on that.
Great.
But the most exciting thing really right now for me is every new season right now, we're getting so many more players that have grown up with social media, and they're all kind of so used to used to the platforms. They're totally comfortable with it. So it's been really fun seeing what younger players have been doing with that. And that's kind of what's going on right now.
Great. No, that sounds exciting. And, Chris, you mentioned that you're working with Chris now. Chris Doyle from Twitter Canada. And Chris, the one thing, for your opening marks I wanted to talk about is there's a lot going on right now at Twitter. But Twitter moments, especially on the sports side, have been, rocking lately. It's been one of my favorite things to do is, wake up in the morning and get my news feed based on a Twitter moment. So talk a little bit about what's happening at Twitter Canada, about, the success of Twitter moments early on, because, it wasn't too long ago where it started where everyone could make a Twitter moment.
That's right. Yeah, fairly. So it's the lightning bolt tab on your Twitter account, and it gives you access, as you say, Peter, to the best tweets around a game or a big event or a sports topic of the day that you might have missed. So what we're finding is it's performing really, really well when the game is finished. So say tonight's Toronto Maple Leafs game is ended, and even if you watch the game, you might have missed some of the best tweets if you didn't follow everyone who was tweeting about it. So this kind of curates the best tweets, the best moments, highlights, and everything in a real bit of a storytelling experience. So you're able just to swipe across and get the full story, get the full game recap. And I think too, it allows people, as you say, now to create their own moments. So, and I've seen Peter, you're creating a few around World Juniors and such. So anyone can kind of tell a story now. So it's really this great storytelling device and bringing some of the best content to people more easily. So yeah, really excited about it.
Yeah, I know, great. That World Junior tournament, that the level. I say it every year. It's some of the best. Like it's the best hockey out there. It's been my favorite event, and seeing all the social media around that was phenomenal. And yeah, now's the time where we're gonna get into some of the discussions. So the one thing I really want to talk about with the paddle we have this evening is essentially we're seeing and this could be just new media in general, websites, social media. But, new media these days is a great way to discover content. For example, LetterKenny, which is a show that is new and starting up. Season 2, it's a fresh show. People have access to it on streaming sites, for example, like Crave TV and Netflix. So there's a lot more ways and a lot more things are emerging in terms of how we can access content. So, Jared, what do you think about, for your sake, the streaming and Netflix, and how Netflix is kind of, intersecting and working with social media? We're in a situation where, sky's the limit in terms of like how much content we could discover and we can consume on, digital media.
Well, certainly, in Canada, we've got Netflix, we've got Crave TV. We used to have Show Me, they went under, but now we've got Amazon Prime. So it's kind of taking over, and, the idea that television itself, television channels might be non-existent in 10 years. I think that's something that I can get behind. Being on a streaming service, a successful streaming service, understanding that medium a little better, I think it makes the most sense. You sit down for a night of TV. If you've got Crave TV alone, you've got lots of options. If you have Netflix on top of that, it's endless. You'll find something every time. So it suits. I like it.
And does social media, in your opinion, play a huge role in that, to the point where someone could be like, hey, there's a show on Netflix maybe people don't really know about. Boom, like Stranger Things, I believe, like social media was a really big player in that perspective, because that was a show that didn't have that much buzz, and then boom, people were tweeting about it. Jimmy Fallon, stars of Breaking Bad were tweeting about it, and it just kind of took over.
Well, it's one thing to like a show. It's totally another to go online and say that you like a show, whether you've got 6 followers or 6,006 followers. That spreads. An idea can really become contagious, can become an epidemic, a pandemic. I don't know. I'm going to go with the first one. But that's something that we're very fortunate with in LetterKenny. At the start of my career, it wasn't really an option. Things didn't spread over social media. And our cast does a really good job on LetterKenny of keeping up with the feedback. And we just consider ourselves so fortunate that we have that medium as well to interact with our fans. And really, it's as simple as just liking a tweet. That goes a long way. I mean, when I do that, I might post a song from a musician that I like, and even if they favorite it, I say, "Oh, holy cow, that's cool! That's great." Makes you feel pretty good. So yeah, we certainly want to give that option to fans of the show as well.
Yeah, and I want Catherine to comment a little bit about that because not that many people know about this. Because Catherine, they'll go to your Twitter account, they'll see digital lead of NHLPA. But one thing that people don't know about Catherine is a tech blogger. You're a tech blogger, and you do a very good job of informing your Twitter followers about what's going on in the tech world, what's going on in the digital world. So, what's your perspective about what Jared had talked about in terms of these ways of finding new content that doesn't seem to ever stop?
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm a huge nerd for a lot of different things, including tech, science, pop culture, music, horror movies, whatever, you name it, sports. So I'm a huge fan of the era that we're in now with Netflix and YouTube and Twitter and all these really exciting things where we can take in so much content so quickly that we're really spoiled. I remember when I was younger, you'd have to pop in a VHS tape if there was nothing on TV, or it would take you 2 days to download a new song to listen to. We're just so spoiled right now that we can get everything instantly, and we can hear from voices that we normally wouldn't be exposed to from different places around the world. So it's really great in terms of context, better understanding of the world, and certainly the topics that you're interested in. And I think it's really special that something can spread so quickly, especially in the case of important issues.
And Chris, this is going to be an easy one for you because last time you were in Popternative, I'm 95% sure these were the discussions we had because you were on a panel with William DeVry, who is on General Hospital, playing Julia Jerome, and you were on with Tara Sloan from Hometown Hockey. And we were talking specifically about television and how it relates. But, you working at Twitter, can you kind of discuss this more with a social media perspective, seeing all the reactions and all the kind of analytics that come in about people discovering new shows, kind of like what Jared talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's allowed, as to Jared's point too, it's allowed great ideas to find an audience, right? And one of the things we're really excited about, some of the research we've seen on this, found that hockey fans valued a retweet or an engagement from their favorite player or hockey team more than an autograph, more than a physical autograph. So that's what we talk a lot about, to Catherine's, it's brought down these barriers that used to exist, right? So now, I can tweet at one of my favorite players, and to get a like or to get a reply is a huge moment, right? So it's sort of erased those barriers and kind of leveled the playing fields on a couple of different sides. So I think it's been empowering and disruptive at the same time, but it continues to evolve too, I think, which is really interesting about working here now for almost 3 years. Just things are evolving, the way that users are using the platform is changing, and that's informing the product. So it's ever changing, and I think that's exciting.
I think it's really interesting to have this conversation because you kind of literally have the both sides of the situation, because you have, Jared, who's producing the content like LetterKenny, and then Chris Doyle, who works for Twitter, that kind of sees the reaction and kind of the outcomes of everything. So I found that really cool to have that connection and perspective on the panel. And that's cool that you brought that up with the interaction, because it kind of brings up my next question. And Jared, it's for the whole panel, but I want you to start it off. It's a new year, 2017. What do you expect from the social media world and the digital media world in relation to pop culture and television? Do you expect more live streaming? Do you expect more podcasts like Popternative? Is there anything that you're looking at or want more of in 2017 from that aspect?
From a personal level, as far as Letterkenny goes, we couldn't possibly ask for anything more. We're so floored by the amount of feedback that we're getting, the amount of support that we're getting. It's helped us so much. I mean, it's helped us continue the show. That's all there is to it. But as far as Show Me going under and Amazon Prime coming in, I can only imagine, maybe not in 2017, but by 2018, that we might have 2-3 more players in the game in Canada. I guess time will tell.
What do you think about that, Catherine?
2017,
2017, the digital media landscape.
Sorry, I didn't hear part of what you said.
No, just like just relating to what Jared said, but what do you want to see in 2017 in terms of the digital media landscape? Do you want to see more live streaming? Do you want to see more interaction from athletes to fans? Like anything you think you want to see more of in 2017?
My hope for 2017 or 2018 or whenever it comes is pretty simple. I'm like, this is just a personal answer, but I'm really hoping that there's more interesting ways to sort through the noise. We have so many places right now where so much is coming at us all the time. And there's Twitter moments, there's different things that are starting to kind of get through that stuff, and it's doing it really well.
Yes.
But I'd like to see that more for other platforms as well. Especially with Instagram stories, like I want to see more interesting ways that we can sort through what that looks like and organize it, because it's a lot to go through and you miss a lot, and I don't like missing anything.
No, that and we gotta have Chris. You gotta comment on that because you coming from Twitter. I mean, I live by Twitter lists. That's how I get all my news.
Yeah.
If I don't have good, Jared, do you use Twitter lists?
No, I sift through all the stuff that Catherine was talking about. It annoys the hell out of me. Yeah,
I highly recommend Twitter lists. Chris, I'm hoping you recommend Twitter lists.
Highly, yes, I back you up on that. I don't think enough people use Twitter lists. They're a great way to just curate your feed, get exactly what you want. I think that it's really interesting. We've made a big bet on live streaming, and we've live streamed this past year NFL Thursday Night Football. We've got all the election debates in the U.S. were live streamed. But I think what's interesting is that we've also got this program called Twitter Amplify, so we're able to push out clips in near live capacity, push them out and monetize them that way. And in that sense, Peter, kind of what you're talking about earlier, like that's a way that we can complement television or wherever you're watching something live. So Twitter is really, but our brand positioning is we're what's happening right now. So it's really that's why the name I think is so appropriate. It's amplifying what's currently happening, and I think that's really interesting. Where we've certainly taken the approach that we want to partner with the industry on these types of things, and we know that conversations are happening about great programming like Jared's got. So in that sense, we can amplify this content. I think that's an interesting model along with the live streaming. So we also have through Periscope now you can do you can do professional live stream can be fed into Periscope through something called Producer, and now there's also 360 has just launched, which is really, really cool. So new tools. I think it continues to be really creative and opportunities for brands and on the content side. So that's what I'm excited about, just to see more of that for this year.
No, absolutely. And
more lists.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jared Keeso's got to make some lists as soon as he gets off this podcast. That's what he's got to do. I'm telling you, I do work with the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, and I showed a bunch of players' lists, and they didn't even know they existed. They're just, used to just going through their feed and kind of going through the noise, as Catherine said. And I think I changed a lot of their lives showing them Twitter lists. I think, it made it a lot different where they could just have, Jared, news and just have all the news outlets, or just have, hockey players, just have all the hockey players. So I definitely recommend it. Getting now into more specific questions, Jared, the one thing that I have noticed from LetterKenny, I mean, you could agree with the statement, LetterKenny is still a very young product, even though for you it might feel like you've been doing it for a good amount of your time, because it started as a web show, LetterKenny Problems, but it's only season 2, so it's relatively new, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so my question is, and I've seen this, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm impressed by this aspect, and I think Catherine and Chris could attest to this. Already, there are so many catchphrases from that show, and so many inside jokes, and so many references that I'm seeing everywhere that it's phenomenal. I haven't seen that type of stuff pick up that quick, pitter patter, let's get at her, hard no, Texas size 10-4. It's unbelievable that culture has created it's a LetterKenny culture after 2 seasons, and people are talking about it, and all my friends, will be, oh, just at ball hockey, and I swear it's so funny. They don't even know that I had you on this podcast, but one person took a shot and they thought it was in, and then the goalie said, "No, it's not in. That's a hard no." So it's just I'm like, this guy definitely watches LetterKenny. So it's just talk a little bit about that from your perspective. That it's phenomenal, man. I haven't seen something like that in a while.
Well, I'd say that if I were to pick my two favorite devices for writing, it would be alliteration and repetition. But certainly, on a more grassroots level, we're looking at contagious dialogue and quotables. Every job I've ever had, sports and seasonal at Canadian Tire, sharpening skates at Gus Maui's in Waterloo, pig barn installation in around Listowel, Ontario. You're always hollering movie quotes back and forth at your pals, and you get credit if you know an obscure quote or a semi-obscure quote from a cult classic or something like Kids in the Hall, Brain Candy. There's credit attached to that. So we really write, one of our priorities when writing LetterKenny is having that contagious dialogue and having those quotables. It's a very simple device that serves us well, I think.
And Catherine, you told me before we went on the show, before we got the paddle going, that LetterKenny reminds you of your hometown, correct?
Yeah, I grew up in a really small town, maybe 2,000 people. We got our first Tim Hortons in 2014.
Which one? Which town?
Dresden, Ontario. It's near
Dresden.
Chatham, Sarnia area.
Yeah, they've got a junior C team, don't they?
Yeah, we have one NHLer that's come out of there, TJ Brody.
Oh, here we go now, Calgary Flames.
Yeah. So yeah, it does remind me of where I grew up, and I think it's a good example of Canadian content that doesn't feel Canadian in the way that maybe CBC content does, or it can be a little stale sometimes. It's something that instantly makes me feel nostalgic and comfortable, and like I'm with people I grew up with. It's pretty special. Yeah, it's really funny.
Thank you.
And Chris, I was just curious, with LetterKenny, we definitely see, a lot of GIFs being used on Twitter. It's a show right now that's really hot, and I bet, if you look at the Twitter analytics or, stories, you see it, because I know Chris, for people who are watching this, and I'm going to put his Twitter is in the description, Chris Doyle's content is fantastic in terms of, keeping in the loop about sports in Canada and the U.S. You do a great job, and I would hope you would do a great job considering you work for Twitter. But what do you think about shows like LetterKenny that right away just so much content on Twitter could be made from them? From quotes from the show and GIFs.
Yeah. Exactly. You said we have the ability that you can tweet GIFs now, which has been this unique form of expression, and it's sort of it's that snackable kind of digestible bite-sized bits of content that, as you say, those catchphrases. It's so easy to tweet out and connect with it on that level. But it sort of rings true for me too. So I played baseball growing up in Listowel, and I grew up in St. Mary's, Ontario. And Jared, I know you said you played there, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's the Lincolns.
Yeah. St. Mary's Lincolns. I know those guys well. A lot of Listowel kids went and played for St. Mary's, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's great. Just like Catherine was saying, I think it's just great to tell these stories because it's something familiar, and like you were saying, it's interesting, Jared, that you were saying sort of how you took the approach of, the problems, but then exaggerated them, right? Really interesting. I was actually curious to know more about the Twitter handle. Is it still out there, that original Twitter handle?
Yep, we've used the original one since day one at LetterKenny Prob, and so we've been building that audience since day one, and that was a huge selling point for Bell. That we came with a number of Twitter subscribers, Twitter followers, YouTube subscribers, Facebook fans, and stuff like that. It's one of the things that really helps you sell a show to a Canadian network, because there's not a lot of money going around right now, so it helped a lot.
Can you confirm or deny that you are one of the voices behind that LetterKenny prob account now? Hard yes or hard no?
Hard maybe.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I know. I don't know how it works in terms of if that's an account, if like Crave TV is now involved with that, you know what I mean? Because you guys aren't Crave TV, but the content's been rocking on that account for a while. Like I said, 50,000 followers. It's a huge number, and it's going to grow.
Yeah, we're in good shape there, But I'll say about Bell and Crave. A lot of people will say, like, when you went to a network, did things kind of dull down a little bit? Did you take the teeth out of the project? I'd say things have gotten filthier since we went to Bell and since we went to Crave. They don't hold us back at all, and there's a lot of complaints about accountability in Canadian networks and even Canadian network execs. We are spoiled rotten with the people that we have there. I can't give them enough credit, and I love every second of working with them.
Great. No, I think we're gonna wrap up soon, but I just wanted to just thank all three of you for coming on the show. I really appreciate you all have really, really busy schedules, and to take the time to come on and chat with me means a lot. Catherine, busy time with the All-Star game. Closing remarks, anything we should be looking out for from the NHLPA platforms?
Yeah, like All-Star Weekend's always exciting. 3-on-3 again. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, look to at NHLPA across all social channels for some exciting behind-the-scenes content, especially on Saturday during the skills competition. So there should be a lot of exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm sure Chris who's nodding right now is excited for that as well. And what's next for Twitter Moments? Because I know Twitter Moments isn't your project. I know Jennifer Wilson is the one who's the deputy lead on that, but it's just I love it so much, Chris, and I think it's something really cool about Twitter. And what do you think is gonna, like, the next step for Twitter Moments specifically in the next couple of years?
I think, as you were saying earlier, I think it's going to continue to evolve as more people, more consumers, more fans make their own moments. And I think we're going to see some incredible things developing out of that. So we're really curious to see how people use it. And how, always Twitter is always innovating based on how the users use the platform and what they suggest. So I'm really curious to see how that develops, especially with my eye on sports, to see how these fan groups and fan memes develop. We never know what's going to happen during the playoffs. So we're going to see how that develops. So really curious to see how that plays out for 2017.
Great. And Jared Keeso, who shifted positions just now.
Sorry about that. My I just got the light on my computer that it was going to die, and I panicked.
No problem. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with you plugging in. But another quick thing, too, that we didn't get to, but I don't think I'm the only person on this panel that thinks it's the coolest thing that we have someone on the panel that got to play Don Cherry in a biopic.
It's incredible.
That one we're on the ice for 30 or 60 days, so that was a dream come true for me too.
That was unbelievable. Now, I've seen Don Cherry give you high praise about it on Coach's Corner, but what was that like, just getting to play him? Such an iconic character and iconic sports personality in our industry. What was it like?
Well, if I'm going to talk about the top three moments of my life, Don and Ron, pumping our tires on Hockey Night in Canada on Coach's Corner is easily in the top three. I think like such a cool part of it, such a surreal part of it was when Don came to set. We're having a blast. We're on the ice a bunch. We've got AHL players, Manitoba Moose players, Winnipeg junior hockey players on there with us. It's just crazy. But then when the free agent frenzy came around, it just happened to be one of the days that Don came to set, and to sit and talk hockey with him was I can't really wrap my head around it. We just went back and forth, and that guy will get in a picture or sign an autograph for anybody, anytime. And it's got to be exhausting, because he's swarmed. But such a class act, such a good old boy. It was the experience of a lifetime, and nothing short of it.
No, it's crazy because it was on Netflix for a while, and like right away, that was like one of the first things that I made sure to watch both of them. So I think it's just awesome that you got a chance to play him. Like that's an unbelievable thing. I mean, he's such a huge part of our game. So it's amazing that you got. I know you're a big hockey fan. You're like hockey's like your life, right, Jared?
Yeah, big time. It also helps that they cast a guy who agrees with 99% of the things that Don Cherry says about hockey. Other areas I tend to disagree.
That's a safe answer.
but as far as hockey goes, he's got old school values regarding the game, and I'll back that 100% of the time, all the time. He sees the game the way that I see it, and the way I think I always will see it. And he's a big part of that.
Great. And so people can watch LetterKenny Season 2 on Crave TV. What handles do they have to follow?
There's at LetterKenny Prob on Twitter, and on Facebook, LetterKenny Problems Official.
Perfect.
But yeah, that's what we do there.
Great. Well, thank you all three for coming on the show. This has been Popternative. I'd like to also thank our sponsor, Grit Inc. You could check out all of their cool hockey and baseball bags on their website, gritinc.net. And they have a really cool bag called the Flex Hockey Tower bag, which is a really cool bag. So be sure to check them out. Thank you, everyone. You could watch our previous episodes of our show on our YouTube page. We are also on iTunes. We are on SoundCloud. And we are also on Facebook videos. So thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a really good rest of the week. And this is PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.